Okay, let's just take a deep breath. And let go of anything that we were focusing on before this particular call. Allow the past to be in the past, and we bring ourselves fully present into this now moment. Aware that there's only one power, one presence, one life. That is the life that some people call God, the universal source, the power that is pure wholeness, pure perfection, pure joy, pure love, pure peace. And I am that, and so is Reverend Connie, and so is everybody else on this call today, and all those who are on the way to joining this call as well. And we are here by divine appointment. We are here to remember more fully who we are, and we are here to stand in support of our dear sister, Reverend Connie, as she moves through this initiation process called healing. So I'm speaking my word for our call today, knowing that Spirit has gone ahead to prepare the way, knowing that everyone is here who is meant to be here, knowing that Connie's testimony of healing is an upliftment to all present and radiates out throughout this universe, causing a quantum leap in consciousness throughout CSL, throughout the ministry, throughout the entire planetary consciousness. There is something unfolding here, something magnificent that has never been heard before, never been witnessed before, something new, a revelation in consciousness that is breaking forth through and as our beloved Reverend Connie, through and as this joint consciousness, this configured consciousness that has never been before and shall never come again. So exactly the people who are here this day on this call are the ones who are meant to be here to be the midwives for this quantum leap. I do bless our call and everyone in it. I do bless everything that is said, everything that is heard. And I give thanks for all the healings that are occurring even now, not only with and through and as Reverend Connie, but with and through and as each one of us here. Healings in all dimensions of our being. I call forth that healing now and know that even in the act of speaking it, it is already done. So I just give thanks for the word spoken, release it into law, and allow it to be. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
So it is.
Thank you, Reverend Steph. That was a beautiful treatment. So, Michelle, do you want to do logistics?
Yep. All right. So I just want to let everyone know that this event is recorded and it's posted out on YouTube. And so it goes forward. So if you have any issue with being recorded, just please take the precautions that you want to, but know that by being here, that is your acceptance. All right. And I think that's it, right, Connie?
Yes, thank you so much, Michelle. And for those of you who don't know what to do there, just just stop your video and mute yourself. And then your picture won't be up. That's simple. So I wanted to start this morning picking up where I kind of left off last week. For those of you that have listened to last week's call or were on the call, had kind of a fairly profound moment that Michelle midwifed me into at the end of the call. That we were talking about life support. And for all intents and purposes, I am on life support, not what is commonly known as life support, because usually when you medically they use that term, it normally means if you're being, your heart is being pumped artificially, or your lungs, or some mechanical way. But I truly am, because everything, all of my nourishment, everything is by IV. But then the leap that we took with that is even one deeper, that of course God is my source and God is our life support and God moves through each and every one of us. The significance though is the people that are supporting this journey that I'm having right now. You are my life support. because you are the ones that are sending the energy and the aliveness, because if we're all connected, we know that. It requires every person to be present to support each other. And when we look at everything that's going on in the world, and we've been so disconnected from each other, from ourselves. And so I think that's like the biggest gift that COVID-19 gave us is, we just hit that massive stop button. And for me, it's realizing truly the depth of our connection. It is so amazing. Many people have mentioned, and including started with my students in Kenya, but even other ministers have reached out to me since then and have said that they actually feel what I'm feeling, like they're in it with me. That's how connected we are. And that's how shut off that we have been. So anyway, I've been just in that place all week about that idea of life support. And so, as we just reflect on what does it mean? What is life support to us? Where do we get that energy, that aliveness, that vitality? So yeah, that was very cool. And then I had an email this morning, just a minute, from a woman in the States. Her name is Reverend Dr. Paula Languth Ryan. That's a big name. And she is a unity minister. And she has been doing work in Kenya for about 10 years now. And she's been doing nonviolent communication work there. Last week I mentioned that, to bring that work into Kenya. She's been doing it out in an area about maybe 2 hours out of Nairobi for 10 years. Now, I have not met her personally. She was supposed to come to the conference and something happened. But I imagine we'll be doing some pretty close work. One of the bishops that she's been working with over there actually spoke at our conference. And he comes to the States quite often to do tours and fundraising tours. So those of you that are ministers, if you're interested to have somebody other than me, like a real Kenyan that has been doing this work, speak at your centers, I know they would be delighted. So you can just reach out to me. But here's what she said. And this was in relation to me talking about where I was separated, where spirit and body are separated, so I can do the spiritual healing while my body heals. And she said she had a vision as I was telling that story. I'm just going to read what she said. I had a vision of your body is being put up on cinder blocks and your spiritual self being lifted up, like an engine hoisted out of the body of a car. Spirit is upgrading your engine, and what's happening is happening so that your body can't interfere with the spiritual work being done. When it's all done, your spirit and body will be reintegrated, and you'll set loose to race around the world in your own spiritual Grand Prix. I love that because that's exactly so eloquently says where I am right now and what that means to me. So, when I talk about being, spirit and body being separated, we know nothing is ever separate. But we also, in Science of Mind, turn away from the condition. So this is a way for me to turn absolutely away from the condition as my body, as the doctors and the nurses, and they're doing all of that work. And I'm over here on the spiritual realm doing the spiritual work. Such a beautiful analogy of doing that. So that's what that was all about. So this week, been kind of a tough week actually, but it's good because what I know is when I'm having a tough week physically, that means the work is being done. That means my body's purging. So they did chemo 3 weeks ago, I guess, that they did one round of chemo, and it did absolutely nothing. There was no side effects. There was no nothing. Last Friday, they did my markers, and nothing had changed. As a matter of fact, it had gotten worse. So they took me off of that chemo, and they put me on a different chemo, last Saturday, and I love this name, Topo Tecan. That's the name of the chemo. Isn't that a great name? Topo Tecan. It's like Mayan or something that brings to my mind. So anyway, I'm knowing that it is working because I've had a physically rough week, so it's definitely doing something. So that's all good. So lots of love and light this week. That particular chemo, they'll do again on Saturday, and it'll be weekly. So I could be, my body could be in this place of healing for a while, it looks like. And that's a good, you know what? It's all perfect, and I'm glad it is, and I'm glad that I can remove myself from that. So Michelle, I'm going to let you sort of lead me on questions this morning.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I have here in my notes, and you talked about the life support, but one of the things you said when you were going through that process with me is that we're often bonded in our woundedness, and that brought up for me the Don Miguel Ruiz. Is that right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? The stuff that is our woundedness that often is what connects us.
Actually, that idea of bonding through came from Carolyn Mess.
Oh, that's right.
She talks about it, bonding through our woundedness. And thank you for that prompt, because I don't know if, I'm sure you've all realized this, you know, you get together with somebody and we one-up each other on how awfulizing it is, you know? Oh, you think that's bad, you got to hear this story. And so that seems to be how we've learned how to bond. And I think we need to bond in a different way. We need to bond not from the level of condition, because as we know, you can't fix the condition at the level of the condition. We've got to rise above it. So I invite you all to play with that this week. If you notice that going on around you, up-level it to a different way of bonding from our magnificence. What if we all bonded from our magnificence? Wouldn't that be a beautiful journey? So I think that's what we're doing here. That's really my intention with these calls, is for us to learn how to connect it, you know, in a real way, in a vulnerable way. And I've been really discovering opening up publicly at this level has just blasted me wide open. And my relationships with my children have shifted. My relationships with, all of my relationships have just been shifting and changing, because we're now bonding in a very real way, even if they're not science of mind people. I think the world is craving this level of connection and vulnerability and rawness. And Lord only knows the coronavirus is supporting that journey. Yeah. Has anybody else on the call, have you been experiencing shifts in your relationships and deepening since COVID's hit, being in isolation? Is it changing?
Pat?
Hands, thumbs up. Yeah.
I saw a few hands going up, but I'll definitely speak for myself from my personal experience in relationship to my adult children. There's just been a whole different level of connection and a willingness on the part, I'd say all their parts, like to various degrees, because they're all individual people and they have their own stuff.
Of course.
I can definitely think of how each one of them has up-leveled the depth of their conversation with me. We'll just put it that way. And
isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's delightful. And then also connecting with other people that aren't in my immediate circle, or people that I in the past I've like thought of them every now and then, but not necessarily reached out
Yeah.
and made a connection
Beautiful.
with them. So yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Pat.
Blessings for sure.
Yeah. So I'm sure many of you are having that sort of experience. It's really quite profound.
Well,
Michelle,
Connie, I will tell you, I've got your notes, but I would also say to you that this whole experience has made me realize, like they talk about social distancing, this is 200% more social than I have ever been in my life. Like I was constantly checking in on people and doing all that kind of stuff. I'm not as social as I am now. Like it amazes me.
I know the nurses come into my room. They said, you're going to have that phone surgically removed. I'm on it all the time. I'm always connecting with somebody.
I think that another part about being willing to do this in such a visible and out there kind of way, one of the things you said at one point was that it's not really profound until someone hears it. And, right? So you want to go with that?
There's something about being witnessed. Like when I read Paula's email this morning, that validation, we can go and we can have our experience, our dark night of the soul, we have our, whatever experience that we're going into. But to actually have it witnessed and validated, to me, that makes a huge difference. Anybody else, does it make a difference to you? Do you have validation? Not that I need anybody's approval that I'm doing right, but what it does for me is
real.
It makes it real. It makes it real. So that witnessing, there's something in here about witnessing each other that I think is really, really important. And how can we witness for somebody if we don't allow them into what's going on, right? If we're keeping ourselves separate, going into our cave to heal, then we never get that vulnerability, that at the deepest sense of our core of our being. Because I think that's been personally throughout my entire life is not feeling, not trusting the experiences I'm having, because it appeared to me. Now you guys are going to laugh because I bet you've all been there at some point. We look out at the world and we think everybody else has got it all figured out but me. I mean, am I the only one that does that? So, to be validated, it's like, okay, this is a real thing. Other people are also experiencing. And for me, that seems to be really important in my journey. So, you can ask yourself that question. Maybe it isn't for you, but and it doesn't matter. They don't even have to agree with me. It makes it real for me if somebody witnesses it. I'm waiting on Michelle to prompt
I know,
me.
but Michelle's running out of prompts.
Okay, well then we'll open it up to the floor for other people to ask questions.
Right.
Or to talk.
I think the only other thing that you said, and I think that point, again, back to it's not profound until someone hears it. I think it's just really an awareness that we always don't share because you said, right, that you feel inadequate, right? Like
right.
Even amongst, your colleagues and stuff, we often think that our ideas are not amazing, right? And it's only through sharing that we come to understand and then can grow that through that connection into a deeper concept.
Absolutely. And for me, especially around my colleagues, because I'm realizing more and more, how I compared myself. Oh my goodness. If any of you other ministers are doing it, stop. I'm stopping now. I'm not doing that anymore. Oh my goodness. How deadly. Emerson says, imitation is suicide. And so here we are trying to be like everybody else. Every minister in this organization is got a gift to give. Every practitioner, every lay person, we all have such beautiful gifts. Let's start sharing them.
So now and then the other thing that you came up with was being in the present moment is tough because there's often not a mental equivalent that we can draw on.
Oh, yes. Thank you for those prompts. I'm a little bit in an airy space this morning, and things are not flowing. My speech isn't flowing as coherently as it sometimes does. So I had this sort of fleeting thought around that idea of I've lost it, Michelle. I've lost the train of what. Repeat the question.
Okay. Part of the problem, and I think that the analogy to the car engine being lifted out of the car. So I think there are two things that you've sort of wanted to talk about. One is it's tough because often when we're standing in the present moment and just being open to what is, we don't always have a mental equivalent for what that means or what's gone before. And so that often makes it difficult to trust and surrender.
Thank you, because that's the experience I'm having right in this moment. So thank you for that. Right in this very moment, the last couple of Zoom calls I've done is like chatted like chatty Cathy, and now today I'm on, and I can't even process thought today. One of the things that I've realized happens when I'm residing up in the spiritual level, there isn't a mental prototype for that mental equivalent of how to be with and every time I could show up differently. So today I'm showing up way differently that I've shown up before. I think I am in a different place. But one of the things I've noticed happen is I have a really hard time processing or actually having a two-way conversation. I can talk, but if somebody comes back at me, like I said to Michelle, can you repeat the question? I couldn't process what she was asking. It didn't make sense the first time. And I tried to, and then I sort of sit there and I spin because I'm not understanding the words. It's a very weird place to be in. So I've got this wonderful team around me that is very gentle with me when I do that and helps prompt me along as I do that. And sometimes somebody will ask me something and like a day later, oh, that's what they were asking. You know, it's just my processor seems to be off. Mm-hmm. So how do, you know, and just to allow myself to be there. So here I am on another public call being recorded, and quite frankly, not sure how I'm even coming across because I'm in that space. So, and just being okay to be there. I'm okay to be there because I know everybody on this call loves and supports my journey. So that's the bit about being so vulnerable when you know you have a team around you that has your back. And you can just, it allows me the opportunity to just sink into the present moment experience that I'm having. And every moment is different. Like from one day to the next is different. I can't plan ahead. I can't even plan ahead for an hour really. Although this morning, the nurses were all over it because I gave them my itinerary, what I needed to have done this morning, and they were in there. They just made everything quick, just like clockwork. Amazing. But I need that level of support, even physically, to be able to function semi-coherently.
Well, yeah. And I would say, Connie, that as a minister, like ministers are not supposed to have this and be sharing the way that you're sharing, like this whole point about, right? Like you're supposed to have it together. But when God asks us to be in the present moment, the present moment means I don't know what I'm going to be needed to be, but I know that God already in me as me provides everything, right? But we're always looking for that mental equivalent. So I know what to do.
Absolutely. I see several of you are ministers out there, so I'm laughing because I know I did this, and just by show of hands, how many other people sort of have an expectation of how you should show up for your congregation? Like how you should show up Sunday morning, you know, like dress a certain way, talk a certain way, how everything needs to look a certain way. Yeah, lose it. Drop it. Try being really vulnerable on a Sunday morning and just have a conversation and see what happens. I dare you. It will change your congregation. I'm telling you, it will change them at depth to know that their minister is also going through stuff. Because I've always told my students right from the beginning, I see some old friends there, but they've heard me say this before, you know, that I'm not getting up on that pedestal because the fall off is too deep. So like, I don't even want to get up there. But even if you don't want to get up there, I think we still do. You know, if we don't put ourselves there, it's often our congregation puts us there because they have extra. This is how the minister is supposed to take over, right? And especially if you've taken over somebody else's work. Oh man, you know, well, the other minister didn't do it that. All of those expectations. Wow. If we can somehow have a model to teach how to be in the moment and be real and just allow each other to be that vulnerable. That's the model I'm looking for.
Well, and I think that being in Kenya, because you and I talked the other day about Reverend Peggy Bassett, was that it? Who got sick in front of her congregation, and then there were huge moments. But by being in Kenya, they're always willing to say yes. Like they just look at you because they have no other prior mental equivalent, right? They have no mental equivalent. They always just say yes, and however it is you show up is profound for them.
You know, that's a really good point, Michelle, because they didn't have a model for our kind of ministry. All they've got is, well, they do have some female ministers, but pretty much male, evangelical, fire and brimstone kind of preachers. So I move into the country, like they didn't have a mental equivalent for me. So they allow me to make it up. Hey guys, I've got some people on there. Hi Michelle, do I make it up as I go along?
Yes.
I see Michael on the call. He's the guy that makes it beautiful. If you see the soapstone curios, that's Michelle. He makes those. They're beautiful. And it's Michelle's kids. I put a video out yesterday. If some of you may have gotten it, I put out a MailChimp thing, and there's a little clip on there of Michelle's kids thanking me for giving them food during COVID. It's very, very sweet if you watch it. Oh, and there's the children. Hi, guys. Hi. Scovia, it's so good to see you. Beautiful. That's his beautiful wife. Hi. Wave to Shosh. Yeah. Love you. Thank you for that, Michael. Anybody else? Lamech, you're on the call. Let me ask you, how has it been for you to accept a minister like me that's so outside of anything you've ever known before? What's your experience of that? Come on, Lamech, we know you're not shy. Unmute yourself. We want to see your picture too.
Oh, she's so
Oh, it's coming up. It should be somewhere here. I'm trying to get it.
So this is Lamech Memba. He is really my hands and feet on the ground in Kenya. He's the guy that's behind the scenes, does everything. Those of you that were at the conference met Lamech, and he is extraordinary. One of his spiritual gifts is the gift of service. And I'm telling you, I am so blessed that I am the recipient of that gift. So, Lamette, tell them about your experience having a different model of ministry. And by the way, he still goes with his wife and his family to their more traditional church as well.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, for me, this has been one of the greatest journey that I've ever taken in my life, whereby with the acceptance of Connie, knowing as a minister and all that, it has actually blown my mind in that there's quite a number of things that are that are in us that we have it has been developed out of knowing Connie and associating with her. Quite has really changed even in my family life and all that. Sometimes I'm kind of, is this really happening, or is it a dream? Am I on a dreamland or something like that? It's just.
And again, that speaks to the validation, doesn't it? Being validated that the journey you're on is a real journey.
Yeah.
Right? Because when we do that, it's like it's just really real.
Yeah. So for me, I lack words to express what it is right now. I'm just enjoying the space, carrying on with the space. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Lamette. So Michelle, I'm going to call on you for 1 second. I've known Michelle for, oh God, how many years now? At least 7, I think, eh? It's got to be. And he lives outside of Kisii, which is about an 8-hour drive from Nairobi. I used to go to Kisii and teach remote classes, but I had to stop that. And so Michael was taking classes with me, but I had to stop because it just got too much, all the travel, and I needed to spend more time in Nairobi. But he's actually, he has his own church. He and another fellow are running it. They are more Christian bent, but he takes the science of mind material and incorporates it into fundamental Christianity. Do you want to talk about that experience, Michael? You're muted. Unmute yourself, Michael.
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I'm saying that good morning over there and good evening here in Kenya, that parts of Africa. Actually, I can say that meeting Connie, it has been a blessing to me and a blessing to my family and especially to my ministry. As Connie said, pastor in one of the local churches here, but I've learned a lot when I met Connie. And I can say that really God planned for us to meet. And I remember the first thing when I met Connie, the first thing Connie told me, and actually changed my life. I remember when Connie visited Kisii, and we were in the car from Kisii, from my home, going to Kisii town. Then they were Connie was in our way to Nairobi. And then Connie told me that, Michael, if you want to change your life, you must change the way you think. You have to change the way you see things. And that thing really, when I put that one into action, it really changed my life. And even the community around me, my family members, they started seeing a different Michael because I started doing things differently. One example is that, in Africa, men don't do women's responsibilities, like helping wives in the home, works at home, things like cooking, that's something belongs to the wife. Things like all housework belongs to the wife, but I started doing that, and people said, wow, we have never seen a man doing this. And I thank Connie for that, because I learned that. And Connie started visiting me. I started visiting Connie. I started going to Nairobi. You know, from my local home to Nairobi, it's about 360-something kilometers, but I had to travel to Nairobi to learn more.
Let me just say, okay, so 300 kilometers in North America is not a long way. 300 kilometers on Kenyan roads would take between 8 and 10 hours.
Yes.
One way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Connie, for rating that. And then I started taking classes with the Connie, and actually, again, what I started doing, I started applying the teachings, the Sons of Mind teachings, to my local church, and some people were started asking me, Michael, where are you getting this one from? Because this new, where it is good stuff, where are you getting this one from? So Sons of Mind teaching at me, and also I tried to teach it to my people in the church, and the people started changing. I have a brother called Duke, whom we work with. He also is my cousin. Also, I encouraged him to come and join me taking the classes, and also Sons of Mind changed Duke, and so many other people around me. So I can say that it's a journey. It's a good journey. It has helped me, helped my family. People around me have realized that, and I thank God for bringing Con to my life. So it has been a blessing.
Thank
so
you, Michael.
I'm happy.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that continually I'm just in awe over is how they apply principle in their lives. I mean, you know, we might learn a principle. I can only speak for myself. It took me a long time to start really applying things. But the way they apply it in their lives to change their lives is absolutely incredible. And I want to speak to what Michael said, tell you the significance about what he said about him doing housework. You have no idea how huge that is in the area he comes from. He lives on their family compound. I think there's 5 brothers in their families that live there. So the other brothers were getting mad at him because, you know, they like, what are you doing? You're not a man. Men don't do that. And then the wives were upset. And even Michael's wife, she was so upset when he started helping, because where she went in her mind was, I must be doing something wrong, and he wants to have another wife. That's where she went with it. And they have gone from that, and Michael said, no, I love you. I want us to have a different relationship. Their whole relationship has changed. You see, for many people, for traditional Kenyans, marriage is often like it's a business agreement, right? So you marry a woman because she's going to look after your house and bear your children, and you don't really communicate. The men live separate lives. They come home at night, they eat a meal, and they leave again. They don't do family things together. They don't play with the kids. They don't interact. That's all the wife's domain. And so for Michael to actually shift that in the culture he's in is huge. So hats off to you, Michael.
Thank you so much. And Connie's like a mother to me. And the one thing I love, which makes me to love Connie, is that she's somebody who tells me the truth. I have many friends, I have many people in my life, but some people don't tell me the truth. But Connie, she's somebody who faces me and tells me, Michael, this is what I want you to do. And I love that. So thank you so much for being part of my life. And another thing is that even my kids here, they call him Soso. My second born, Judith, grandmother. So my second born, Judith, when she was 2 days, I think 2 days old, Connie was the first person to travel all the way from Nairobi to my home through Hoda. So we are honored to have Connie in our lives. So we are praying for Ra and we are praying for perfect healing. Thank you so much. We love you. We are sending love.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Connie, I think Linda had something she wanted to say at some point.
Linda.
So I'm assuming it's me, I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think what is beautiful is what is coming out for me is this, the authenticity, just being true to ourselves. Because when you were talking about the social distancing and the types of relationships we've been having recently, many of us have shared on this, that's exactly what's been happening in my life. It's not just the words going to the ears, as I say. It's not somebody saying something I hear and it's finished. No, there's a whole much deeper connection going on. And that deeper connection, I feel, is really, for myself and for people around me, being true, being authentic. And when I feel vulnerable, that's okay. It's okay.
Thank you for sharing that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If we're not vulnerable, and surrender. It's surrendering. It's allowing yourself to be vulnerable. It's allowing yourself to really be seen, naked.
Exactly.
Really bearing everything naked. It's so freeing.
And I think it's freeing.
I think the world is crying for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's our life support. That's it right there. That's our life support. We need to get to that level of communicating in our relationships. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Linda.
Not at all. And also what I find is that by doing this myself, I'm helping other people feel that they can do that too. And I've seen examples.
We're modeling it.
Exactly.
We're making the mental equivalent. We're making up the mental equivalent.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hey, Connie, it's good to see you.
Who am I speaking to? Oh, hi, Cheryl. How are you? Hi. Nice to see you.
You have no idea how important it was for me to figure this out.
Well, I'm glad you did. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, it's good to see you. What can I say? I'm delighted to see that you're just doing it. You're just alive, and your energy it's amazing to witness that you are you're just being Connie, the Connie I remember.
Thank you. Cheryl came and stayed with me for a couple of months a few years ago in
2014.
A long time ago.
Back in 2015, and then I did 3 trips, and it was all your fault, Connie.
All right, I'll take credit.
I went to Edmonton to see you.
Okay, Cheryl.
That was.
Can I stop you? Can we have a private conversation? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
Thank
just
you.
happy to see you.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay. Hi, Michael.
Hi.
If you guys, when you're done, just mute yourself so we don't get so much background noise.
Denise Schubert would like to say something.
Yeah.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Connie. No, I actually just wanted to just share. I am so getting your communication about authenticity and vulnerability that when in March, my younger sister had a stroke, a brain hemorrhage. She's fine now. My cat died. I had to euthanize my cat, and I lost my job, and they locked me in my house, right? So there was no way I could tolerate any surface shit. It's like people, I needed to connect with people. I needed to be vulnerable. I needed to rant a little bit. I couldn't lay eyes on my sister. She was in Phoenix. So I truly just get it, and it's kind of like when you're just there's nothing else to do. What are you going to do? you know, you can't be inauthentic. It's not possible. You can only be who you are.
Or we could do what we traditionally do and just shut ourselves off and just block it out and pretend nothing's happening. And
Yes,
that's
crawl
really,
and die. Of course, yes.
that was the old mental model, and we need to drop that model for sure.
Yeah, well, you're inspiring me.
That, Denise.
Yeah, you're inspiring me. I'm very happy to be here today.
Denise has been over to visit a few times as well.
Yeah, yeah. She got me hooked too. Hooked on Kenya.
Well, it's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Hi, Tendai. Nice to see you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hey, Connie. Sorry to be late. You know, here in the U.S., we relate mostly to Pacific time or Eastern time. And so when you put down Mountain time, I didn't know what that was or where it was or what it was in relationship to.
Well, that's why I gave you the time zone converter.
Yeah, so you know, I'm like, okay, what is that?
Because I couldn't do it for everybody. So
I figured it out, but then I was, you know, doing exactly what everyone.
Well, I'm glad you're on. Thank you, Tendai.
Yes.
Beautiful. I'm glad you made it. Now you know how to do it.
So Tendai, did you have any comments or anything to?
Oh yeah, I have been. I could just say ditto to what everyone is speaking and sharing. I found myself not doing I have this list, you know, we have this list, this daily list of things I need to do for my business and marketing and all this stuff. And in the past week, I haven't done it. And I realized, it came to me that this is time for you to do you. This is time for you to go deeper, because you need to expand and be vulnerable and be more authentic, because you've been coasting on what you knew and what you've learned and where you had gone deeper before. You've been coasting on that. Now it's time for you to do the work to go in more. So that's what I've been working on, and there's a little bit of resistance. I feel it.
Probably a lot of resistance.
And then
it's not comfortable. We resist anything that isn't comfortable.
I got to do it. I got to do it, and I want to do it. I'm choosing to do it, of course, making that choice.
Very good, of course.
So that I can be the best version of me that I'm supposed to be.
Beautiful.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you,
Connie. This is going to shift. I'm telling you, it is so beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
Michelle, where are we at?
I'm complete.
Thank you, Tendai.
So you have 10 minutes left or whatever. There's nothing else on your...
Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing, about how we're moving forward?
Connie, it's Linda Wolf. I just want to say something.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. When you talked about witnessing, many years ago when I was going through my divorce, an important phrase I used to say is witness my pain, because being so accustomed to, you know, looking good and doing life and all that stuff, at home I would fall apart. And yet, to be socially acceptable, go to the grocery store, go to work and all that, I felt like inside was dying. Yeah. And so I had to let that go and say to my friends, I need you to witness my pain, because I cannot live with it inside me any longer. And
Linda, thank you for saying that. You know, that is so, so true. And if anybody has witnessed somebody else's pain, boy, we don't have a mental equivalent to do that either. You know, somebody's crying, the first thing, everything, you know, try to shut them up. Instead of just, how do you just sit with somebody in their pain? That's all you have to do.
Yep, exactly.
You don't have to do anything. You don't have to touch them. You don't have to talk to them. You just have to listen. That's all you have to do. That's it.
Exactly. Let them express and be and get it all out. Otherwise, it turns to dis-ease inside, and that's what a huge learning for me. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Just a good reminder.
Thank you. Thank you, Linda. That's so valuable. You know, find somebody that you can be that vulnerable with, or just be that vulnerable. And why not just ask somebody? Say,
And
you know what?
be that vulnerable.
I've done that. I've called people and said, you know, I'm just feeling really, something's telling me to call you. I have to talk to you. And I'll call somebody and I just start talking. And there's a perfect person that needed to hear it. So just really trust your intuition on who to call and where to do it. And just start, take baby steps if you have to. But just start being out there and practice. Being vulnerable, being open, allowing yourself to surrender into that sweet space of spirit, knowing that God has got your back. Like you're you know, I always thought, well, if I wasn't in control of the entire universe, that I would fall apart. Well, yeah. What is that? How do you know, we're afraid of the unknown. You're not going to fall apart. But we're so afraid of falling apart. I think we just need to break open.
Yes.
And just do it. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Linda. That was very good.
You know, Connie, that reminds me, one year when I was at Asilomar, one of the ministers spoke and he said, the act of a heart breaking open or falling apart is the same action. It's just a different reflection on it, right? It's the same.
The same thing.
It's the same thing. But when we break open, well, like you said, it's because we're having to relinquish control over how that looks. And so what this brings up for me is that there are some people within your circle who have not actually been able to walk this path with you. And we don't want to necessarily focus on that, but what it brings up is that I think one of the things I told you, that we will live for years in physical pain. We all have bad backs, bad knees, bad this, bad that. And we don't do anything but 3 seconds of emotional pain and we are running for the hills.
It's very true.
Right?
Yeah. And that's where we need to go. You know, I was remembering as you were talking about, you know, that breaking open, I remember a story, I don't know if it was a Sufi or something, but a story of this person walking to the river to get water every day, and there was a crack in their water bowl, and so as they walked along, the water kept leaking out all the way along, and this would go on and on and on for days. But as that water was leaking on the cracks on the trail, it was leaving like this trail, this beautiful trail behind of nourishment. So that's kind of the vision I got as you were talking, using that story. I've got to go back and find that story. I've got stories all over the place, but, and use it in this context, because as we're letting those drops of vulnerability out, surrendering in those moments, we're just leaving this trail of nourishment wherever we go. And we don't even know who it's going to touch. We have no idea who might be touched by our sharing, by our being vulnerable in the moment. What a beautiful, thank you for prompting that.
Okay. Well,
so we probably got time for one more if somebody else wants to do a sharing or ask a question.
Okay, wait a minute. We have one here. Can you speak a little more to the validation of where does that come from? Our humanness? The ego needing to be stroked?
No, for me, it's not my ego needing to be stroked because of my particular personal past. I never had any trust in what I was feeling for anything, and I won't get into that story right now. It's a longer story. And so I've had this deep-seated not trusting my own experiences, not trusting that the experiences I have are real. And so the validation for me is coming from